Hello, Pan. This is my feedback to your listening exam, to the mock listening. Now, before we get into the paragraphs, I looked at your notes. They were very good, very detailed notes. In the exam, we're only interested in whether the final set of notes is sufficiently different than the first notes. So, I don't know who's going to grade your exam, but just to make sure that the final notes are recognizably different, what you can do is you can just take your first notes the very first time you listen to the video. And usually that process is very messy because you don't know what the speaker is going to say. You usually cannot keep up with the speed of speaking, obviously. So we usually use a lot of abbreviations, a lot of arrows, a lot of all kinds of symbols, things that would get you to write faster. So it's not full sentences, not even full phrases. And it's okay for the first set of notes to be very messy. So no problem with that. And then you can type up the second notes, organize them into supporting ideas and evidence, and that will guarantee that they're very different. Okay? But the quality of your notes is quite good. Now let's look at the paragraphs. This is a very good paragraph. You're doing everything that you need to do. First sentence, argumentative. You have included all the components, names, the title, everything. Now here I would just say there are three main characters that originals would have. You mean characteristics. That's fine. I would take that as a main idea sentence, but maybe argues that, make it more a bit of an argument, because that really sets you up for 1, 2, 3. And that's fine also. But maybe you could think about, these people, they look like they're procrastinating, but actually what goes on behind the scenes is a creative process while they're germinating ideas. So what looks like procrastination is actually part of a creative process. So you could say something like that to make it sound a bit more concrete. Because when you say there are three main characteristics, okay, that's not saying much, right? And we always aim for the first sentence. To imagine somebody does not have time to read this 200-word paragraph. They just need the first sentence. Tell me in one sentence what the video is about. You would actually say something more concrete than this, right? But anyways, this is still a good main idea sentence. And then you've used cohesive devices, reporting verbs, all of these things. Now the only thing I noticed here towards the end, remember we stay away from examples, right? So this is for the identification and for the evidence paragraph. So don't mention data and examples in your summary. Just say what the main idea is. So that's the idea, right? That's all we need to know. If you have more space, you obviously will have more space. Expand on that idea, but don't go into examples. Okay, same with this one. And then you have a conclusion. He claims that gaining these properties is important. Again, I would make it a little bit more concrete. Three main characteristics, these properties. It sounds a little bit too broad, but other than that, you have a good idea of what the video was about, and it's a decent paragraph. We've done this summary to death by now, and you've been doing very well, so I'm not worried about that. Now let's look at the identification paragraph. So you take the first idea. Originals are quick to start and slow to finish. Okay, that's a kind of a aphoristic way of putting it, but that's fine. Maybe you can use your own wording here. One of the speakers supporting this, the originals are quick to start and slow to finish. He uses three pieces of evidence to support this claim. Okay, fine. His student GHE's tests, employees survey on how often they are procrastinating. Okay, and employees' opinions on how creative or innovative their workers are. Okay, good. It's a very good use of brackets here. Experiment on new business ideas. Sure. Very nice use of brackets in all three cases. And examples of great original thinkers in history. He calls them originals. It's just his own weird word choice. You can just call them original thinkers or creators or original creators or something like that. Okay, fine. Yeah, there's no problem here. This is a very good paragraph. Now let's look at the final identification, evidence paragraph. The pieces of evidence presented are not sufficient. Okay. One study provided by the student on employees' ability to be motivated, to be innovative, related to their procrastination. Okay. And his own experiment on 3 groups of people asked to create business ideas within the established time frame. Okay. Is not enough to judge the procrastination. Okay, fine. I will agree with that. That this is not enough. The speaker should include bigger study results, okay, larger or more, should include the results of a larger study, or show data on really successful companies which could prove the connection between postponing the task. Okay, fine, absolutely. Which could clearly show the connection, or we could show a clear correlation between postponing a task and the success. Okay, fine. This makes a lot of sense what you're saying here. On the other hand, the evidence is relevant. All of the provided studies and experiments and examples of great original thinkers are related to the claim. Okay, they are related to the claim. But this really is not saying much. All you're saying is this. It's relevant because it's relevant, because it's related. Why are they related? In what way you have to be a little bit more specific. It's not enough to just say they're relevant because they're related, because that's just the same way as saying it's relevant because they're relevant. Okay, so you do want to show, maybe you can get, for instance, here, procrastination data clearly related to is blah blah, just get into that a bit more. You do have some space, so I would recommend expand on this. Otherwise it becomes very tautological, what you've said. So you need to show a little bit more precisely why they are relevant, what part of them is relevant. Okay. In terms of representativeness, the evidence can fully stand for the significance of procrastination in original's life. You mean cannot fully stand? Yeah. Okay, it's not typical, you cannot fully stand for, sure. The word choice is a little bit odd here, but I understand what you're saying. It's not necessarily typical. Okay, fine. In other words, a couple of success stories do not indicate that procrastination had a significant contribution. Sure. Therefore, it can be suggested that the speaker failed to prove a direct link. Okay. You don't need a final conclusion. We can, no problem. But if you needed, let's say, to expand on the relevance bit, then you probably will not have room for this sentence. If you do, that's fine. You can say that, no problem. Yeah, okay, I'll take that. A couple of success stories do not indicate. Sure. I would expand on this one a little bit as well. So why are these not necessarily typical? You could say, not all original thinkers, not all business ideas, not everything proceeds in this way. Not all the creative process is not necessarily the one represented by the speaker. There are some ideas which do not, or creative processes which are not created in that way, you know. You do not have to be here. There are a lot of examples where success did not start with a slow start, right? I mean, quick to start and slow to finish, right? That's not necessarily typical of the general process of creation. There are many examples which do not prove that. The speaker cherry picks examples which would suit his purpose that are not necessarily typical. You know, that's the kind of wording you can use. A little bit more precise when you target whether it's representative. Again, just like with the relevance part, a little bit more precise, more targeted, right? But overall, you've done a good job here. No problem. If you do those kinds of 3 paragraphs for the exam, you should be in very good shape. So you obviously understand the task, no problem. If you decide to go a little bit deeper and really expand on some of these, particularly the relevance, then you might have to reduce the wording. Then you'll have to really practice economizing on the word count. Whatever you say has to be said in fewer words. And then it becomes also a writing exercise, not just an exercise in evidence evaluation. So you will only say the things that you need to say, so that you have enough time to expand and really explain why it's not relevant, why it's not. Okay, but overall, very good work. I did want to remind you also, go back to the guidelines, and you will see in the final notes section of the guidelines, you will see that you need to also provide a short explanation about how your final notes changed from the first notes. So that should be part of that note submission document. So at the bottom of it, you write the first and the final notes. At the bottom of that document, you could write maybe 3 or 4 sentences. My first notes did this. For the final notes, I changed that. Just a very brief explanation. The guidelines also say that. So if you go back to them, you'll see what I'm talking about. Overall, very good work, Ulpan. Good luck on the exam.